Check one, check two, check one, check two. It's G from the Academy. Continuing the conversation. I'm putting a call through to Melissa, and we're going to find out where she is and what she's up to. She runs the podcast Raw Relationships, or at least she did until she found more interesting things to do in her life. Let's click the call button on Facebook. There we go. And see if there's somebody at the other end. It's catch-up time. It's catch-up time. It's catch-up time.
Oh my gosh, so much has happened, so much has changed around here. I imagine for you as well.
Oh my God. Like a tidal wave under the bridge. Not just a little bit of water,
Yes,
right?
all good, I hope.
Um, I think so. I could laugh about it. So
That's a good thing then.
so that's okay. Yeah. Where to begin? When was the last time we connected with each other?
I
When was
was
that?
I was trying to figure that out, and it's been a while. I think it was just after Bradley had his seizure, I believe.
Oh my God,
Um,
I think that you were really busy with family stuff, obviously around
mhm.
that time, and I think I tried to get in touch with you a little bit after that to catch up and check how things were going. But
Yeah,
when but when
and
was that?
that's just about a year ago. It's coming up here.
Wow.
Yeah, on the 28th of September, it'll be a year since he had that seizure. So it's crazy
How
how
is he?
time flies.
How is he
He's
now?
good. He's good.
Yeah.
He hasn't had another one. We have regular visits with our neurologist and the
Mhm.
pediatrician, and he's
Mhm.
doing good. He is on medication to stop them if they do come, so chances are he shouldn't have another one being on the medication unless it's not working or the dosage is off. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, he's doing good. He's come back from all the because he had some issues when he first started taking the medication. It made him very angry. His
Mhm.
brain did not like it, and
Mhm.
I don't know if I've gotten used to it or if it's gotten
Okay.
better.
Wow.
But
Wow.
yeah, but he's doing good. Everybody's doing good. We decided to homeschool this year, which is super exciting, and I'm happy that I did it on
That's very
every
cool.
account. Yeah, I was a little worried, and but because of the fear of him having another seizure, it's like I don't care.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do this. I'm home because I'm home working from home anyways, so I don't. There's no reason I can't do it. And we have the luxury where I live in that we can do what's called unschooling. So it's pretty much I teach him. There's certain outcomes that have to come from learning that comes from the
Mhm.
government, and I have
Mhm.
to teach him that. And as long as I'm following those outcomes, it doesn't matter what I'm teaching him. So when he bakes a cake with me, that's teaching, that's learning, that's
Yeah.
fractions, that's measurements. They take all of that into account. So it's really awesome. And the plus part is the government refunds up to $800 a year for fees and stuff like that. So that's kind of
Wow.
a nice thing as well. Yeah. So
It's probably the you're probably living in the only place in the world that does that.
it
Because that
may be, it may be. I don't
where
think they like doing it.
yeah, did the government like giving anything to anybody? I think they like
No.
keeping it for themselves, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they like to keep it for themselves and prolong suffering for
But it
everyone
would make
else.
sense. Oh yeah, oh yeah. But it kind of makes sense to sort of pay the parents to
Mm-hmm.
teach their children. In my mind, that kind of makes sense. And then when you work out like how much money government pays per student
Mm-hmm.
to run education,
Yeah.
And you've got the schools, you've got the extra activities, you've got the I mean, schools are massive buildings that take a lot of maintenance and energy, and
Yeah.
then you've got the whole process of administration and books and materials and the PIN, all of the teachers and guidance counselors and whoever else, whatever else, security
Hmm.
janitor, whatever else is going on
Yeah,
there.
they need security guards here now.
Yeah,
We
I
have
know, and
security guards in our schools now.
yeah, because school is
Sadly.
dangerous, right?
That is so true. Like that, I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad I homeschooled for that reason
Mm-hmm.
because we moved from a tiny community to the city,
Mm-hmm.
and my eyes have been opened very widely
Mm-hmm.
about what's going on. That I kind of hid my head in the sand for many years because
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't. We lived on an acreage and it was great there.
Yeah.
It was quiet, but here, not so much. I kicked people out of my yard this morning, 4:30 in the morning.
Oh my.
And then they say, we're picking apples. Like, seriously, you're not crawling the alleys at night picking apples. I know what you're up to. You need to get out
Yeah.
of here. But it's horrible, like the drugs and stuff. So I'm so happy to be homeschooling for that reason as well, just safety and security.
Well, some of my friends homeschool, and of course we homeschool as well. And
Hmm.
but I don't know I'm just so anti-establishment education systems. Of course, I'm for learning, right?
Oh, for sure, for
I
sure.
just think that systems only work when you integrate them with other systems, and I don't think people are systems. So
Hmm.
I kind of
I think
rally
it would be
against that.
different if they had a different curriculum. You know what I mean? Like if
Hmm.
they focused on stuff that actually really matters, like mental health, like
Okay.
relationship skills, right? But you don't get taught any of that. Maybe a little bit in
No.
kindergarten, you learn how to sort out your differences with other kids, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not, it's not like it is once you get into
Hmm.
high school. They just don't teach anything. And with this parent-led unschooling, it's like if the kid's interested in it, you build on it. If
Yeah.
the kid only wants to know about bugs, there's a million things you can know about bugs. So let them learn about bugs.
Oh yeah,
you
there's
know?
there's a general line of thought that says there's nothing more insane than being stuck in a chemistry class when you want to do art, or be stuck in an
Yeah.
art class when you want to do chemistry. And the idea that between 11:30 and 12:30 every week you should study the same specific material and specific subject is kind of insane, because if you forced everybody to live like that, then we wouldn't
Hmm.
really get very far. I mean,
Yeah.
we've tried it for 100 years and it hasn't worked very well. IQ levels are not really increasing very much,
Yeah.
and the aggressive nature of schools is quite terrible now. Like my friends took their kids sort of out of homeschooling, put them back into schools, and said that they couldn't handle the aggression of the other children, so I had to take them back out and
Hmm.
homeschool again, because the
Yeah.
homeschooling kids are just not used to people being aggressive all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
just it. Yeah.
they
And
they
usually,
don't understand it, because why can't you just be nice to each other?
yeah. Well, and I think that's a lot of, the world today. I'm realizing like being on Facebook is the most toxic thing I think that anybody can be on because so many people have such an opinion and they're violent, they're hateful if they don't agree with your opinion. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like it's
Hmm.
just ridiculous. I watch
Yeah.
things on there and I'm like, and I try not to comment, but sometimes I can't help myself. I'm like, whoa. But again, it's the exact same thing, right? It's like it's so easy to just put your opinion out there without any facts or, anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't have uh, a decent conversation through
Hmm.
writing comments on Facebook.
Mm-mm.
It's almost like the people who designed it knew what they were doing, and they knew that it would create division, because
Oh, I think so for
you
sure.
can't you can't uh, really you can't really agree to disagree, because nobody gets a chance to fully explain their perspective. And people are so triggered by phrases and words and the
Mhm.
fact that two people can have slightly different definitions of the same word, which can
Mhm.
lead
Mhm.
to horrible problems because
Yeah.
you can never agree if your definitions are different.
Right. But
But
because
if
it's yours, it's right.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was what was it? I was having a debate with my partner this morning about the definition of a word, and she was saying, "Well, this is negative," and I was like, "Well, it's kind of neutral from my perspective. So I don't
Mhm.
see
Mhm.
see it as
Yeah, and
bad."
that's all it is
Yeah,
perspective, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and we were able to discuss it and figure out a path through the problem, through the conversation. But there's no way you could do that on Facebook
Oh God,
because
no. No.
everyone's talking to themselves. That's one of the main
They
reasons why.
are. That is exactly it. And you know what? The other thing I found is like I'm a huge believer in listening. So
Hmm.
instead of listening to come up with a response, I'm
Hmm.
listening to listen to a person. Whereas
Oh
when
yeah.
you're reading, they don't read. They read to the point that sets them off and then they start typing before
You know
they've
what?
even read the whole comment or post or whatever, right? And I've caught myself
Hmm.
doing it. And then
Yeah.
I go, whoa, self, go back and read all of it and then form an opinion and then decide, do I need to put my opinion out there?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, listening is such a difficult art. I mean, for me personally,
Hmm.
because I realized a long time ago that my response to people's statements and opinions was was forming before they finished their sentences.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and therefore that meant that I wasn't fully listening to what it was that they were what it was that they were saying.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
excuse me
Yeah.
one second. Jazz, my daughter's one of my daughters has come in the room. Jazz, what can I
Oh,
help you?
no worries.
Can I help you with something?
No, I just wanted to come.
You wanted to be here?
Yeah.
Okay, you
Oh.
And
can.
I brought this for you.
Oh, you brought me Pooh Bear, yeah? Oh, okay, okay, thank you. Do you wanna lie down? Because I'm in the bedroom right now. Do you wanna lie down with the Pooh Bear and cuddle him? Okay, there we go. Um, there we go.
Gotta
So,
love children.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah,
Yeah.
listening, and it's crazy that you should say that because I write a lot of articles, and I just finished one this morning, and the first line was about exactly what you said. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
exactly what it's the first line. I'm just going to pull it up on my computer here. The first line was, "You either want to listen intently, or you are just waiting to speak whatever is on your mind."
Yeah. Yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah, and people are most people are just getting off their chest whatever's on their chest so that they can move on to something else. It's not real communication through Facebook, and it's caused more division than anything else. And I think I said maybe in our conversations of like probably back over a year ago that I was thrown off of every homeschool community on Facebook. I was
Yeah.
thrown off all of the homeschool communities, and I still don't really understand why. But people made up
Hmm.
stories and then banned me. Like-
Oh, yeah.
and it's like,
Well, that's just it.
you
And it's
what?
like the other thing too is they're like a mob mentality too, right? Like it's us
Mhm.
against you. Whatever division you're in. Like I'm in
Yes.
anti-vax groups because I don't believe in vaccinating, and
Hmm.
they're attacking each other. And ultimately, they have the exact same belief, but they're still attacking each other.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't even
absolutely.
make sense. And
Well,
one person controls a group, so if they don't understand, they don't believe in something you say, they can just take you off.
oh yeah,
And
it's
I'm
it's
like, it doesn't make sense.
well, it's insane. I had one group. Oh, I had one group online say that we don't believe that you are a homeschooling parent. That's why we are removing you from this group. And I personally have been invited to speak at the World Homeschooling Conference, yeah, because of my
Right.
work in schools that I did out in Europe. So, it,
Mhm.
it's, it, I don't know if people just make up stuff and then believe it and then base their life
Mhm.
upon what they've made up, and
Right.
or whether it's as you said, they have a leader, and whatever the leader says is right, and everybody exists
Mhm.
to defend the leader's perspective and
Yeah.
position. It's like it's like the cult where you can't criticize the cult leader because the leader was perfect, and it's like, well, no, okay,
Yeah.
nobody's perfect. We've all got flaws, and we
Yeah.
all need to correct little things every now and then. So,
Yeah. Well, that's
um,
just it. And
mhm.
it's not about, like, some people I think have beliefs, and that it's hard to shift that. Oh, sorry. Now mine are squealing. Um,
That's
my
okay.
my point was, if we have a belief, we're usually pretty stuck and firm on it. Like the whole I'm dealing with right now, I've been fighting,
Mm.
helping a
Hello?
worth.
Oh, we dropped out for a few secs there. I'm sorry. Can
Oh, I
you?
probably went too far. There we go. Is that better?
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So what
So I've been
what have you
dealing
been
with a
doing?
lot of division. I've been meeting with the government to kind of help the citizens where I live, because we have a major drug crisis, just like everywhere right now, in the province that we live in, which is,
Hmm.
I don't know, I want to say 500,000 people maybe.
Hmm.
Um, we have 4 people a day dying just in the city that I'm in, which is 100,000, because of the fentanyl and all these drugs being tainted and people are overdosing. So the government has put in each city, each big city in the province, which there's 7, they've put in some what's called safe injection sites. So these people are able to buy their drugs off the street, and then they go to this site and they're supervised to do the drug. And then if they overdose, they're shot with another, it's called Narcan, and then they're brought back to life, and then they're sent off to go and do more drugs. And in my mind, is ludicrous. Um, so
Well,
I've
it's more.
since I've
It's
moved here.
worse than that.
It is. And so I started a group because I noticed a lot of people, because there's a lot of crime based on that drug. Now we have a lot of crime. People are stealing things out of your backyard. Like you can't even put lawn ornaments on your lawn. They'll come and take them because they can go turn around and sell them for $20 to buy half a day of heroin or whatever they're on, right? So I was on
That's
the crime
mental.
pages. Oh, it's ridiculous. So I was on the crime pages and I kept seeing all this stuff and then dealing with it here on the property. And I was like, something has to be done. But they're just complaining
Hmm.
about it and they're fighting about it, because there's the ones that want these sites because it saves
Hmm.
lives, which the facts
Hmm.
state it does save lives. But it also has a fallout that comes with it on society. So I've been, for the last probably 3, 4 months, I've been really rallying with the citizens in my area, trying to come up with solutions, not just,
Hmm.
but come up with some solutions to the government. And I actually, just last week, I actually got a meeting with the government panel to propose my solutions and all this kind of stuff. And they came to the city and they did an open town hall so everybody could stand up, how it's
Hmm.
affecting them, good or bad. And I went to that. So the next day after that, the government proposed $151 million towards rehab, and 4,000 detox beds for Albertans, like for the people of the province. So I think the word is working. It's
Wow.
a good start, but I think there needs to be obviously more. But I don't know. The one site that we have here is just a temporary thing, and their license runs out the end of the month. So it may be gone, which would be good in a way, but not in other ways, right? Because people will die. That's not going to go away. But my hope is on to the other cities that have them. And we can
Yeah.
clean up this city, you know what I mean?
Uh, yeah. Well, you want to ship all the druggies to an island and let them fight it out between
Hmm.
themselves. You know, and
Well, that's just
it,
it. It's a tough one. It's like my biggest thing is I kind of see both sides, so I see
hmm
how they got that way, whether it be
hmm
from a doctor or whether it be a shitty childhood, you know what I mean? But a choice is always in that. My
Yeah.
other thought is
Yeah.
uh, going back to the whole thing is drugs in Canada have been illegal since 1929. That's 90
hmm
years of being told drugs are bad, drugs are not good, you go to jail, blah, blah, blah. So you can't think it, and
Yeah.
I told the government because they're trying to destigmatize drugs. Drugs have
hmm
been stigmatized for a reason.
Yeah. It's well, legalize everything, put users on prescription, and nobody has to
Yeah.
hide anything anymore. Um,
How does that make any sense?
um, well, how does anything make any sense?
This is true, I
It,
guess.
it,
I just
it
shake my head. I'm like, what? No. Like, BC, the next province over, is putting vending machines of drugs in Vancouver. They're going to put vending
what?
machines. Yes. I'll send you the article. It's ridiculous. It's a prescribed thing, so they'll have to use a fingerprint, but they're going to go and sell the drugs.
And
Like,
of course,
come on.
you can't copy a fingerprint, can you? Like
Yeah.
everyone's seen in films, like 2 seconds it
Hmm.
takes to copy a fingerprint, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's not
It's
like
just
people
ridiculous.
like if people could steal whole like bankomat cash hole in the wall machines, right? It's like
Yeah.
they're gonna think
Yeah,
putting a
jackpot.
vending machine full of drugs. I mean, that that's that's not tempting fate, is it at all?
Yeah,
Oh my
like
God.
and to do that, to put it on the street, like that's okay. That's normal. It's okay. It's okay to walk downtown and see
Uh,
people with knives just standing there. Like, what the hell? I drove downtown yesterday and I went to bingo. I like to go to bingo just to get away from the kids and just
mhm.
be by myself and maybe win some money. But I go there and there's like seven homeless drug addicts outside of the bingo hall, and I'm like, I do not want to walk away from my car right now. Like,
Mhm.
what's to say? I drive a brand new car. This
Oh
is
yeah,
not
yeah,
good. I'm in the wrong area
yeah.
of town.
New is new is kind of. I don't go for new. I
No,
just don't
God, no.
bother anymore. I would just
Oh,
like worry that something's gonna happen to it. I
mm-hmm.
don't.
Yeah.
I'm just like I don't need that stress,
I
right?
know. I told my husband today, he took my car. He has to go for some breathing tests, and I said to him, I said, if you're gonna wreck my car, make sure you wreck it good. He's like, write it off. I said, yes.
Well,
Don't just wreck
yeah.
it a little bit,
Oh, the
because he's
last time.
going to,
The,
which is about 1 million people there.
Last time my car got hit, which people seem to want to drive into my car, which happened
Oh
like
no.
five or six times, yeah. And the
Oh.
last time somebody drove into my car, I was just like, whatever. It's just like
It'll
I'm
just
not even.
match the other dents.
I was just like, I'm not even gonna go to the garage.
Hmm.
I'm not even gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna drive around with this big dent in my car, and people can go, "There's a dent in your car," and I can go, "Yep."
There'll be another one next week.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I
Yeah.
just collect, I think,
Yeah.
and just I just not worry about that um, too much. I think people stress out too much about those elements of life. Look, it's nice to have
Yeah,
nice things, but oh my God,
yeah.
don't put that cup on the dresser because you might leave a mark. Oh,
Oh,
what the fuck?
I know, right? I know. I had a lady come here the other day. I was selling a table, my kitchen table, because I've just had enough of it and I want something new. And she's like, well, and I paid like $900 for it. Plus, I redid the seats, and that cost me $80. So
Mhm,
it's not like I've got $1,000 into this stupid table, and I was asking $225 for it.
mhm.
So in my mind, she's getting a deal, right? And
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
picking apart everything. She's like, "Well, there's this on
Uh,
there, there's that on there." I'm like, "Do you see I have two little boys? You are gonna
yeah.
have to clean it." Like I'm not cleaning it either. You can take it, you can clean it, you can do whatever you want. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Well, would you take 200?" I'm like, "No, 225, because I'm
Mhm.
without a table. I have no table, and I have to get another table." So
Yeah.
seriously. And she ended up paying 225 for it. She wanted it
Well,
bad enough, but she tried taking it away. But I'm the same
yeah.
way. I don't care. Paint on the table. I'll just repaint it. No big deal.
Well, I know that people can be talked down with things, and I know that for some people that's kind of enjoyment and barter and
Hmm.
fun, and on the
Yeah.
on the business side of things, there's all this negotiation and can you get a better deal? And for me, I'm just like speed is what interests me. So I'm like, how much you want for it? That? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
if that's what makes you happy, then
Hmm.
fair enough. And there you go.
Well,
And
and
it's
if
like,
not, then find it cheaper somewhere else,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
Jeez.
I'm not even gonna barter up and down. I'm just gonna say, I've got this. Do you want to take it? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to persuade someone to do something that they don't want to do anyway. Which
Yeah.
is kind of weird because in business there's a lot of the well, it's it, there are things that are good for people that they don't know are actually good for them, and it
Yeah.
does work out better at the end of the day. But
Hmm.
just not. I'm not bothered. I've got this. If you want it, yeah, I'm not gonna stuff it down your throat or tell you it's gonna save your life because it probably won't. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, so whatever. Just leave it, let it go. But it's the the drug thing is kind of is kind of crazy, and
Well, it is. It's
it's
ridiculous.
it's an undercurrent in societies everywhere. Like there's an element to it in the community that I'm in the north of Scotland right now, and
Hmm.
nobody wants to talk about it, and people, want to pretend that it doesn't exist, and it doesn't get better. It's sweeping
Hmm.
things under the carpet just
No.
makes a bigger mess under the carpet, right?
Well, I
And
think
and
there has to be a middle ground, right? Like, I think sweeping it under the carpet doesn't work because then there's shame and all that attached to it. But at the same time, the thing, if you're a drug user and the things you're doing are shameful, then you call a spade, right? Like, if you're out stealing to get your drugs, then that's wrong. It's against the law. You should be in jail.
what's wrong? Look, if you can have a shop which sells all different types of alcohol, why can't you have a
Yeah.
shop that sells all different types of drugs? And
Well, that's
people
what they're
who
pushing for here.
well,
That's
people who
because
want to
we
get
now
messed
we
up can
now
go and get
have
messed up.
legal marijuana, so you can go to a marijuana shop and buy it and
Hmm.
smoke it. You can't smoke it like in public, but you can buy it and you can have it in your purse, say,
That's
as
even
long as you're
that. I
not
mean,
smoking it.
that gets ridiculous as well because
Well, the government is just turning into a drug dealer. That's all it is. I
well,
mean,
as if it
ultimately,
well, that's how it's always been a drug dealer, though.
I
I mean,
suppose with pharmaceuticals, yeah.
well, yeah. I mean, look back down throughout history. You either make your money legally or illegally, and
Yeah,
um, if government regulates it, it can tax it, and the reason why people are involved in it is because the government's not regulating it. It's not taxed, and the profit is 100%, in your pocket. You're
right.
not you're not paying taxes off it. So, um, if you suddenly tax it, then if you legalize it, then you tax it, and if you tax it, it becomes less interesting, and people go and do something else. So um, there'll always be a certain element of society that's messed up because society is like that. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think that the most ridiculous thing for me is taking money from people doing good things and spending it
Yeah.
on people doing bad things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what
So,
has the citizens here like really pissed. They're like, we pay
well, you
tax
can't.
dollars for
Yeah,
this. Are
yeah,
you
yeah. You
serious?
can't. Well, you can't. Let's take a really bad example. You can't build schools if you're spending all the money,
Mhm.
buying beds for druggies. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, it's um, it's it's symbolic of a broken society. It's been down. It's been
Yeah.
that way down throughout history. I mean, China fell apart about 300, 400 years ago because of drugs, right?
Mhm.
And it's used to debase every society. I mean, just use a search engine and type in CIA plane full of drugs crash lands somewhere, and you're gonna like have 1 million hits, right? About governments flying drugs in and out of countries. The government knows where the drugs are um,
Right.
all of the time because there's cameras and microphones everywhere. Everybody knows what everybody is doing, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
the police know what all the criminals are doing. The criminals know what all the police is doing. If you are a criminal, say you were a criminal 60, 70 years ago, it's very simple. You have half a brain and you go, right, well, we'll just get some of our family to join the police force and then we'll always have someone on the inside. And then we won't have any problems because we'll always have someone on the inside. So it takes 5 years to train someone and solve that problem.
Right.
So the criminals always take over the law enforcement agencies. The idea that there's a good Sherlock Holmes or I don't fucking know Dempsey and Makepeace or Cagney and Lacey or
Yeah.
Magnum PI. The idea that there's some good James Bond guy there on the inside that's going to save everyone is just it's just
Yeah.
just bull, right? So
Yeah. Well, they
so
may try, but they would never get very far, right? Because I think there's probably more bad than good.
well, like I'm 44 years old and I'm still waiting for a good example, right? And I
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
seen one. I know good people that have been in the police force and they've lasted about 5 minutes.
What about Trump? What do you think about Trump?
um. Well, there's a tangent in the conversation.
Sorry.
Um,
Let's just get all
what do you
political.
what do you what do you think about the third moon on the fourth quadrant of planet X and the fifth vector of the Milky Way? I don't know. Um, I don't know. Let's see. One. Okay. Here's the problem for me. One man can't really change a lot of things. All he can do is take a lot of blame for what a lot of people are doing. Government is such a sprawling metropolis of organizations and mini organizations and uh, good people working for bad people that
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Trump is surrounded by a whole bunch of people who tell him what they want him to hear, and the top of the pyramid has very little idea what's happening at the bottom of the pyramid.
Right.
The lesser of two evils is still a bad choice. Transparency, I'm in essence a Trump supporter, but I think that's just the alpha male looking in the mirror and saying that I like the things that reflect the positive parts of my own characteristics and just ignoring all the negativity going on.
Right. Right.
I haven't followed it too closely for the last 6 months because I sort of felt that I knew which direction it was going in. Trump got in as a rebel, but he was very quickly shut down and controlled. He's had his little wars that he's been able to fight against people, and he's won a lot of them. But the giant pharma military industrial complex marches on.
Right.
I'm not aware of too much of the recent inside information, and it's hard at the top to keep everybody happy. It seems to me everything's just marched on. It seems
Yeah.
to me pretty
Yeah.
much everything has continued in exactly the same direction as it
Hmm.
always has done. Um,
Because he's held back, you think?
or it was a great bait and switch.
Right.
They had us believing that here was someone different, and he wasn't really that different. And the cult of personality is dangerous in leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's Trump says what he thinks, and I love that because I say what I
Yeah.
think. But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that's a good thing because
Hmm.
you want someone who's educated and eloquent and maybe partly philosophical and
Right.
able to reason through through arguments and say no to obvious hikes in military spending for God knows what. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that I think he's done an amazing job in the position that he's been put into, but nothing's changed,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's frustrating because that just spells the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Because
have to agree with you.
it was it was Trump will change something or nothing will ever change.
Right.
And there's a Canadian broadcaster called Alan Watt, who's actually Scottish but lives in Canada, and he did lots of presentations several years ago about this the giant machine of government and how the long term the outcome of what's going to happen is that people are going to be tired of democracy not actually being able to change anything and are
Right.
going to revert back to acquiescence to some kind of automatic leadership without any question.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you look at what's been happening across Europe recently, a lot of political leaderships have changed without any voting.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, the Prime Minister in Britain changed about a month ago. I don't know. I don't even follow politics, right? So I can't even
Yeah.
remember. It's like a month or probably maybe it might even be 2 months ago now. Yeah.
Could have been a year. Hell.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know. It's just like I was like in some shop like buying some groceries and there was like a front page on the newspaper about the new prime minister and I'm like, whatever. I have no
Hmm.
idea. And
Yeah.
and nobody voted,
Oh.
right? There was no election. And if
Oh.
you look across Europe, there have been a large number of leadership changes with no elections.
Interesting.
And we seem to we've got this democratic fatigue
Hmm.
where, especially within Europe now, where there are so many elections and people don't even know who they're voting for or what they're voting for,
Right.
that people are just tired and nothing really changes. There's no real representative
Yeah.
democracy as far as I can see. So, I, as far as I can see, democracy died somewhere between 1960 and 1980, and um, hasn't really returned much.
So
Which
what do you think took its place then?
um, drugs.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
do you look? Okay, here's my take on this. Kind of controversial, but we'll go for it anyway, right? Um,
Controversy is good.
controversy is good,
I
right?
think anyway.
Allowing everybody to vote is fucking stupid, right?
Mm.
And I'll tell you why. Because you want your doctor to make decisions about your health. You want the mechanic to make decisions about your car. You want the electrician to sort out the electrics in your home, right? You want the builder to
Hmm.
put the bricks together, yeah?
Yeah.
and these people are all these people know about the things that they know about, and you want the tattoo artists to give you the tattoo, right? Well, whatever,
Yeah.
right? So we accept the fact that we allow these people to do more, but you don't want the woman serving at the counter in the grocery store to give you your tattoo or operate on you or fix your car, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if you wouldn't allow these people to do these important actions, how come you get them to decide the future of your country when they've
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
no clue about um, micro and macroeconomics
Yeah.
as
Exactly.
as a starting point? So
Yeah.
getting people to vote about things they don't know is just ridiculously stupid.
Mhm.
Now, 8 out of 10 people have no idea what's going on most of the time.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's the majority.
Yeah.
So the
That's
minority
more than the majority.
the
Yeah.
minority who understand what's going on will always be outvoted by the majority of idiots.
Mhm.
For that reason, democracy can't work.
Right.
It can't. Look, it's a nice idea for families and small communities and the business boardrooms,
Yeah.
but it's an absolutely terrible way to look. It's fine for picking your football team, right? But you
Yeah.
wouldn't want to run a country based on that principle.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's just
so
it.
so let's step back to the original Republican model, which is that in order to vote, you had to have a certain position within society. In order to vote on the leadership of society, you had to have a certain position. Now, I break this down to either a certain amount of wealth or a certain amount of property or the ability to or the running of a business. So if you have a certain amount of wealth or a certain amount of property or you own your own business,
Mhm.
you can vote.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, not.
Right.
Therefore, those who have responsibilities and the ability to deal with responsibilities have an idea about what is better for people and society. And that, which will never happen, is the only solution because human ego is that everybody must be equal, which is just
Yeah. Ridiculous. I
ridiculously
agree.
stupid. So,
Yeah.
so you've got the university professor who's written 20 books and is sitting, in his office and understands his subject inside out and is 70 years old. You're telling me his vote or her vote is equal to a 20-year-old drug addict?
Yeah. Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, that 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 that's madness. That's
Yeah.
absolute
Yeah.
madness.
And that's
So,
everywhere, right? I think.
well,
Like.
this push for equality, equality is a Marxist concept that people
Oh,
forget.
it drives me crazy. I just
Mm,
don't. So,
yeah.
not all things are equal. I'm sorry.
Well,
Same
nothing.
as people, right? I don't know. I
Look.
think in some ways we're
Mhm,
human. We're equal in the fact that we're human and we have
yeah.
blood and organs. Some of us don't even have those. You know?
Oh yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
still, look, standardization works really well if you're building computers or you're producing furniture or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want all the chairs to be the same height, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
it kind of makes sense, but you don't want all the people to be the same height.
No.
And so the way in which society is organized is dire because it becomes about influence. Yeah,
Mhm.
if you could, whoever can influence the most people is going to have the most power. But
Mhm.
there's nothing about morality, nothing about virtue, nothing about ethics in that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just whoever can influence the most people, um, which can there are educated people who can do it, but even being educated doesn't mean good or bad, right?
Mm-mm. No. Do you
So,
know, I seen a thing about, you know who Jay Shetty is? He does a
uh,
bunch of inspirational, he's an influencer in
yeah,
quotations.
I only know because I watched an interview with Lewis Howes, who's a podcaster. He has a School of Greatness, and he mentioned that this person started a podcast and became very influential very quickly. But I've got no idea who he really is, but I know that
Well,
people listen to him.
apparently he's just stealing quotes from other people. So he's really
Hmm.
a good actor, apparently.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
know how much truth there is, but I did watch a lady out him because she has researched him. I can't remember
Hmm.
her name for the life of me, but she's a Canadian comedian, and she
Hmm.
does videos on YouTube, and she's hilarious. A little bit on the raunchy side, but hilarious.
Hmm.
And she outed him, and she said
Hmm.
that that's what he's been doing. So to take that influence and to kind of negatively, in a way
Hmm.
too, try to fool people, like, but he's some god because he's such a guru, right? It's sad
Yeah.
what people do for money, I guess.
Well, yeah, that bothers me. That was part of my debate with my partner this morning was about manipulation. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was saying that everything is a like everything is a manipulation, even if you pay people for a job.
Oh, for
That
sure.
that that's a manipulation because
Yeah.
it's influencing people. And my I understand my partner's argument. She was saying that if I offer my services to somebody, that's not influencing them. But it is affecting the situation, and any effect is kind of influence. So it is
Hmm.
when money gets involved, it 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 makes things cloudy. But at the same time, what else are we gonna use? You can't go back to the farmer taking all his animals with him wherever he goes,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
to in that sense of barter and trade. So, um, yeah, the ability of people to be fooled is, as as Einstein said, that human stupidity is endless, right? So,
Hmm. Yeah.
so you can't fool all of the people all of the time, but you can fool a hell of a lot of them, and
Well,
that's
I think so. I think so. It's like the
that's
sheep. I always call it the sheep mentality, the herd mentality,
yeah.
right?
Well,
I've
here's
always
something.
been the other side of that. I always
Here's
question everything.
Yeah, question everything. Well,
And
well
I
here.
and I tell my kids to too. Like when they
Yeah.
say to me, "Well, why?" I'm like, I'm thankful that you're questioning this, but mommy's saying why because this. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like not don't just say
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
unless I've told you 10 times already, then you better just say okay and do it. But the first
Yeah.
time, right? If they don't understand, they're saying why for a reason. So they don't get it. They're little children. They don't understand what the rules are and why they are. It's just these are the rules and follow them or else.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's really important to question everything so that you understand what your own standpoint is,
Hmm. Yeah.
and even people with good intentions can get things wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And people can change their mind over time as well as people
Hmm.
learn new things and have new ideas and um,
Yeah.
they encounter different people and hear different arguments. I think
Yeah.
the the intelligent person adapts when they come across new information, but
Yeah.
people are fixed into ridiculously stubborn habits. I'm looking in the mirror
Hmm.
as I say that, uh,
Hmm. Yeah.
and and the classic example of that is that if people are into sport and they support a particular football team, they never change their allegiance,
Yeah.
right? You don't get
Yeah.
somebody in, British soccer who, changes from supporting Manchester United to supporting Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
You don't get somebody who supports like one basketball team changing to support another, or jumping from one political party to another. People have their allegiance for their whole life. They pick a side and forget that it's a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all just a giant game. So back to I don't know, back to the sort of Trump leadership about what I think about that is I don't know what to think about it. It seems to me that it doesn't matter who leads.
Yeah.
very, very little very little follows on, and no one knows what's going on. I mean, how many departments do governments have? How many departments do
Oh
universities
yeah.
have? What the
Yeah.
hell are all these organizations doing? And there seem to be like a billion organizations busy doing things. And like,
Nothing.
well, yeah, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
what are these people? And it's all packaged perfectly to make it look like it's going to be of some benefit to society at some point in time. But
Yeah.
um, I'm slightly skeptical of the way that everything is packaged. I'll give you a controversial example. So in the north of Scotland, one of the main industries is the whiskey industry, and it brings a lot of tourists in, and it's massive trade worldwide, provides a lot of employment, builds up a lot of industry infrastructure, and um, I'm wondering when these organizations are going to repay society for all the liver damage and all the diseases that are going to be that are caused by the consumption of hard alcohol,
Yeah.
because the number one killer in the world statistically is alcohol. More people die from alcohol related diseases than from anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and so the largest industry in the north of Scotland, or one of the largest and most successful and most popular and lauded and applauded, is the industry that leads to death.
Yeah. Same here, I'm sure.
And
Mhm.
and that just confuses and puzzles me, because everything is painted very bright and beautiful and pretty colors, but nobody wants to deal with the other side, right? Nobody
Yeah.
wants to deal with the other side, and that's pretty much the how I view politics as well. It's pretty much how I view Trump as well. It we don't know what we don't know, and
Yeah.
I got um I got
And
enough
we
pro
never will.
yeah yeah I have faith,
Hmm.
and yet how much I trust people is related to the fact that I have to trust but verify everything that everybody does.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like I will if someone says something, I'm like I trust that they think that they're right, but even honest people make mistakes, so you want to
Yeah. Yeah.
check it and double check it and triple check it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
God knows what's going on. Like I just got I'm just thinking about this because I'm standing here in this room and there's this electrical socket, and so I ended up getting this electrician in to fix the internet in this new flat that we've got because it wasn't working properly, and the electrician came in and looked at everything and he went, oh my God, this, like, who did this? I mean, the whole place could catch fire, right?
Oh no.
and and you trust that everyone knows what they're doing, but
Hmm.
it seems to me there's a hell of a lot of people who've got absolutely no idea what they're doing, and obviously some professional electrician came in before and fixed everything the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Scary.
s yeah, so I I don't, I don't know. Government is a juggernaut, and it's heading in one particular direction. I would step out of its way and let it drift on past, and
Yeah.
and wave bye bye to it.
Yeah.
uh, um, the idea that government is protecting us from something, I think, is kind of an illusion, because I don't think it can't protect itself from itself, right?
Yeah. Well, and
So,
the other thing too, the one thing I said to the board of the government, I said with in specifics to the drug crisis, I said this is not a government problem. It's a
mm,
human problem.
mhm.
The government, we shouldn't be looking to the government to fix this. We should be reaching out to our freaking neighbors and talk to them.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, it's a society problem. It ain't a government problem. And just
Yeah.
demanding that the government fix it, that just seems kind of privileged and entitled behavior, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, there's a there's enough films out there, sort of semi-depicting reality. That what's the Al Pacino film where he plays the New York cop? It's based on a true story. Uh, um, Not Scarface, something. I can't remember. Anyway, it's a famous New York cop. Yeah, it's true, based on a true story, where um, the cop takes on the drug dealers and he ends up getting like shot in the head by another cop. Yeah,
Hmm.
and the true story is the guy actually survives, and but obviously can't go back to work, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and there was an interview with the original cop semi recently, and he was asked, how corrupt was the police department when you were when you were working there? He was like, oh, like 95% of the officers were corrupt. Yeah,
Wow.
and he's like, what's it like now? He's like 100% now.
Yeah.
So it's 100%. The whole thing is
Yeah.
corrupt.
Well,
Yeah.
I think you'd have to be. Like, I know a couple people that work in the jail, and they're not upstanding citizens by any means, but they're guards at the jail. So, like, how do drugs get in the jail? I could probably name a few, you know?
Oh yeah, people need to make their money on the side. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
as well, and the,
Well, the
there's.
greed, right? The greed, the power, the everything. It's just, to me, it's sickening. Like, I'd rather live with nothing and be happy in that kind of sense rather than like since
Mhm,
we've moved our bills have doubled because we live in the city, so the housing is a lot more expensive,
mhm,
and
mhm.
it's ridiculous. Now my husband has to work two jobs in
Oh my
order for
God.
me to stay home. Yeah, so he's never home. He sees the kids maybe an hour a day, and I'm home all the time trying to kind of look after them, and I work as much as I can to make a little extra money, but it's ridiculous. Like between the two
Mhm.
of us, it's $6,000 a month to live.
Yeah, it's well the cost of living is quite horrendous, and
Hmm.
um, people have people have kind of trapped themselves into living certain ways. I
Yeah,
scaled down my life over the last 5 years to the point where I have like 2 bags. That's my
yeah.
stuff. Like my but my kids and my partner, and they've got a lot of stuff that they need. Questionable, in my
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
opinion. But they feel like they need the stuff, so that's cool. They can have it.
Yeah.
But I've just ob- objects, and the what's the old saying? The possessions end up possessing you. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why
well,
that's
it's
what.
true. It's true.
And
That's what my husband says to me all the time. He says, this is how we choose to live, so this is what it is. This I'll work extra." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And then when I think about living in a tiny house with these two boys, it's like, "No, I'll sacrifice for a bit longer." At
oh
least till they
yeah,
get older.
well,
It's funny. We come accustomed to that. I know prime example, when we moved here, I was so excited because our old house had three bedrooms and one bathroom.
mhm,
And this house has five bedrooms and three bathrooms. And I was like
mhm.
so excited. And then now, like not even a year later, I'm like, I hate bathrooms. I don't even want to clean one. What the
oh
hell was
yeah,
I thinking
yeah.
with three?
Oh, I know people with big houses, and like you spend all day going from top to bottom keeping the place
That's
clean.
all I do. That's all I do from the time I wake up to the
Mm.
time I go to bed. And we really only use like the upper floor. The kids do their
Yeah.
gaming downstairs, but it's ridiculous. And we pay just about $2,000 a month plus power and heat and
Hmm.
everything else. And it's like,
Hmm.
what are we doing? This is ridiculous. But at the same time, I'm just not ready to downsize yet.
Yeah. Well, there's so many advantages and disadvantages um, to a
Everything.
place where people
Yeah.
live, whether it's a flat or a house or whatever. I've changed. Let's see, the last 3-4 years, each year, I've lived somewhere different, and it's brought a lot of advantages and a lot of disadvantages, but more advantages because
Yeah.
you the human beings adapt. We have this
Yeah.
great adaptability. We can survive in any kind of place. We very much adapt to whatever is in the environment. Whatever we have around, we can use, and whatever's not here, well, we sort of can't use. I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's there's a bit of an extension on that now, where you could have things delivered like through uh, like eBay or whatever, so you don't have to completely depend on everything which is local. But
Yeah.
but most of the good things are all local. Like, I mean, if you want to go outside and do something, you have to kind of do it locally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the environment that we're in and the things that are around about us really matter. My daughter has just walked into the room with, what have you got, Jazz?
Energy.
Oh, wow! She cut out lots of hearts and just
No,
no.
Mama did.
Zora cut out
She
the
did
heart.
it to me.
Oh,
And I want to do it to you.
and you did. She cut out lots of hearts and then blew them all over me, which was
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
which 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 is really nice. And now there are lots of little hearts all over the place, which is kind of cool. There
That's
we go.
awesome. Then you'll be reminded of their love all the time.
I will as I'm picking them up. Yes.
Yeah. That's how I am with Nerf darts around here. That's
Oh
my
yeah,
love.
yeah. I've done
I'm
that,
constantly
done that, done
finding them.
that, done
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
done that as well. Took my kids to a sale where people was like a garage sale where people were selling off stuff, and all the girls wanted to do was buy Nerf guns and shoot each other.
Nice.
Um,
Nice. That's awesome.
why, it's their fun, and whatever they want to do is cool with me. So
Yeah.
um, so the yeah, back to the environment of where people live. It's little little changes can make massive differences. Yeah, so
Mhm.
right now I'm living 3, 4, 5 miles, maybe 5 miles away from where I was living last year, and it's like being on
Mhm.
a different planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a completely different planet. It just a little. I'm like 5 miles down the coast. Yeah,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
without even really realizing it, that 5 miles down the coast there's a nice big beach with a microclimate where it really doesn't rain very much, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
all the getting the sun is cool, and it's I don't know, those little things
Mhm.
make massive differences, and I think that when people are searching for a place to live, it's important to consider what is happening around where it is that you want to live. Like you were talking about the drug dealers and people
Yeah.
stealing stuff and things. It's just I can't go back to that.
No.
I
You
can never
know,
go
and
back to
it
living in a place
changes.
like that.
Well, and it changes everything too. Like when I first, so being, we were on an acreage. We had like no houses close to us. All we could see outdoor. Well, I think you've seen my photos of the mountains. It's
Hmm.
beautiful. It's quiet, and I was
Hmm.
peaceful there. My brain went on, but my brain went on in a positive way. So I was
Hmm.
trying to influence and doing my coaching and that kind of thing. Then I
Yeah.
moved here, and at first it was better. It was okay because
Hmm.
the convenience was nice. I
Hmm.
experienced all the good things. It was a bigger
Hmm.
house. It was a nicer house. It was a newer house.
Hmm.
But then quickly, once the snow
Hmm.
melted, I realized
Hmm.
that it's not such a beautiful place. You know, it's
Yeah.
that energy has really kind of affected me negatively. So now my mind doesn't stop on the problems and all the things that are going wrong around this place. You know, and it does. It
Yeah.
changes your whole perception
Well,
of who you are and where you are.
well, if your brain has to be in that sort of defensive alert mode all the time, that takes
Hmm.
energy away from positive things that people can achieve. If you have to be worried or live in fear of something, then you're not going to be as you're probably not going to be as positively productive
Yeah.
as if you lived out maybe in the middle of nowhere. At the same time, there's it's what I read about once, which is also my experience, that where you have more people, you have more opportunities, and where you have more
Yeah.
people, you generally have people of higher intelligence, higher IQ, higher EQ, because they're navigating and dealing with people a lot of the time, which
Right.
is a complex activity. Where you have less people, you tend to have people who are more stubborn about ideas and less willing to compromise and less willing to change.
Right.
And so as much as I enjoyed living out in the country, when I lived out in the country, it was very much being surrounded by people who were very much fixed in their ways. Whereas when I've lived in more urban environments, it's been it's been easier to relate to people about what I would call more educational, intellectual topics and have
Right.
proper discussions um, rather than just arguments
Right.
with people, or opportunities to learn things. But each environment offers its positives and negatives, and it's up to people themselves what they want to take out of it.
Um,
I can see a lot of reasons for living in the city, and I did that myself for a while, but there's ages and phases of life that people go through.
yeah.
So when I was younger, I had more energy to go out and party, and now that I'm
Yeah.
a bit older, I'm like, okay, um, I actually don't want to go out and party anymore.
Yeah. Chilling is
anymore.
good. Chilling is good.
Yeah, I just want to get up and I just want to get up early and do things and not sleep in
Yeah.
late. I don't know. It's just the perspective. The
Yeah.
perspective is different. Yeah. I think people always hustle when it's things that they enjoy, but you kind of hustle in different ways as you go through the different stages and
Yeah.
ages. Yeah.
Well, that's just it. And like you said, with opportunity, like for me, for my business, I've had opportunity doing the furniture because there's more people here, right? People wouldn't
Yeah.
come 45 minutes out of the city to get what they need. What's going on, you guys?
There's a my
What's
daughter would
going
like
on?
to say something. What's up, Jazz?
What's going on, bud?
You always yell at me. To
Okay.
the
No
park.
fighting. Girl,
Oh, I'm going to take you to the park.
Brad, be
Yeah,
good.
but you have to wait a little bit to finish the call. Yeah. And we're waiting for things to dry as well. There we go.
Is it
The park.
like after supper there right now?
This is let's see, it's 5:30 in the evening
Okay.
here. We don't have a supper time. It's sort of we we just do whatever, wherever, whenever. There's no
Yeah.
real specific time for anything at all, as you sort of do when you homeschool or unschool
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh, and do things like that. Work affects certain times, but both me and my partner work from home, so we kind of
Oh, that's
have
nice.
that
Oh.
bit of freedom to do
Yeah.
whatever, whenever. Also means we get on each other's nerves a lot, but that's
Well, I think, I
Taco
don't know, I
game.
think it's good. It's good. It's just like we said before, there's bad to
I
everything
don't
too,
want to
but
play taco game.
I think it's good if
I
you
think
can focus on things.
my daughter needs to fight with me right now, I think.
Mm.
So, what's on your agenda coming up in the future? Do you want to do some? We have time to do a few more calls in the future, or what's
Yeah,
on
for sure.
your
I'm not
horizon?
doing much on the horizon. I've just been focusing on painting furniture and doing that kind of thing.
And
And
saving the world.
yeah, trying to save the world. In my dreams, maybe.
Well, I think we all contribute in different ways
Well,
to
that's
doing
just
that.
it. And I think as long as you're um, putting in your part, whether it makes an effect at all, it doesn't matter. It's just you just got to get off your ass and put in your part, and that's what I'm doing.
Well, you've got to. I think we all have to make sure that what we're doing ourselves is the right thing,
Yeah,
and I think back to the a lot of the political problems are people want to tell everybody else to do without being able to sort out their own shit first. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And
um,
that's kind of my
uh,
destination, is to kind of
uh,
just work on me and try to not let what else
mm.
affects me affect me.
Yeah, yeah. But look, for me, life is simpler and more beautiful when I just cut out the noise, and a lot of what other people are doing for me is just noise. It's just
Yeah.
noise. It's just it doesn't um, improve the quality of my life. I'm not saying it affects me in a negative way. It just doesn't
Yeah.
contribute. So I try not to worry about that
Yeah.
too much. And that's my daughter has started full scale war now, and and Jazz, what game are we playing, Jazz?
Tackle game.
The tackle game.
The tackle
The
game.
the tackle game where Jazz, my 4-year-old, has to tackle Daddy and
Nice.
bring Daddy to the ground, and then
Bring Daddy
pretend
to the park.
yeah, and then pretend that Daddy is a trampoline
Oh,
and
nice.
and bounce up and down. So
Wonderful. Well,
and
you enjoy that, and it was nice to chat with you, and we will talk
yeah,
again soon.
it's great to catch up, and we'll keep in touch through Facebook because that's what it's for,
Sounds
and
good.
and that's it. Yeah, I'll send you a couple of messages, and maybe we'll be able to do another little call. And I'm sure there's some aspect of either what's going on around about us, or family, or
Oh, for sure.
adventure, or kids, or whatever else, or work, or I'm sure there's a endless list of
Yeah,
subjects that we could explore. Um,
most
this
definitely.
uh, Maybe I'll put this out on one of my podcast channels as a chat,
Sure.
if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's cool
Wonder-
with me.
Okay, super.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta go
Awesome.
and tackle now. It's tackle
All right.
time, right?
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Okay, you too. You take care. Bye bye.
You too. Thanks. Bye.